What's going on? It's Joshua Jones here with you for Fun and Affordable Magic the Gathering Limited Commander Series 1 Episode 10. And today I'm going to be wrapping up the Guild Restricted decks for you. As a final reminder, all 100 cards in Guild Restricted Commander decks have to contain both guild colors. Ignore the first rule if it contains the guild mechanic, watermark, or name. This is not an officially sanctioned format, as I stated in the first video. It's just something my playgroup created, so I curated all these 10 decks here for you in case your playgroup wants to rock it out. Selesnya Conclave concludes this series for us, and I've chosen Trostani, Selesnya's voice, as the commander of this deck. 2 green, 2 white for a 2/5 Dryad that says whenever another creature ETBs under your control, you gain life equal to that creature's toughness. 1 green, white, tap to populate. Populates one of the 2 guild mechanics for Selesnya, and it means that you put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of a creature token that you control. We're going to bust this down into 7 different steps for you. Step 1 is generate more mana. These 3 2-mana cards right here generate more mana for us by tapping to add mana. These 4 3-mana cards right here generate mana for us by tapping to add more mana, or in the case of Sylvana, Explorer Returned, you're going to parlay, which means you tap. Each player reveals the top of their library. For each non-land card, you add green, and you gain 1 life. Then each player draws a card, so your opponents get to draw a card off this no matter what, you get to draw a card off this no matter what, and then if you get 4 non-lands revealed, you get 4 life and you get 4 mana. If you get 1, 2, 3, that's how much you get. Moving on, we got Nissa's Expedition and Karamachagadav Harvest. So both of these allow you to search up lands and put them into the battlefield tapped. In the case of Nissa's Expedition over here, it has Convoke, which is the other guild mechanic for Selesnya, and it means that your creatures can help cast the spell. Each creature you tap while casting it pays for 1 or 1 mana of that creature's color. It's important to note that Convoke can reduce the cost of the spells that you cast 100%. And this is because the 1 mana of that creature's color of the Convoke ability. So say you have 5 total creatures up and one of them's green, and you tap all 5. Even if they have Summoning Sickness, you can tap them because the creature's ability isn't what's making it tap. You tap 5 and then boom, you search up 2 lands and you put them into play. Remember that as we move forward throughout this deck. Here we have step 2, which is to create tokens. You can't populate if you don't have tokens. So here's how you create them. 4 green white, put a 3/3 into play. Not a great deal for the guild mage here for a simple bear, but you can pay 2 green white to populate. Selesnya Eve Angel is a little bit less than a bear, but you can pay 1 and tap it, and then tap an untapped creature you control to get a 1/1. I'll take that deal. Call the Conclave, you get a 3/3 for 2 mana. Now, 3/3 for 2 mana at the cost of 1 card, especially since it's a token, not really a good deal, but works well with the synergies we got going on in this deck, especially because, again, the populate mechanic. Transluminate is a bear that allows you to pay 1 and sack it to get a 1/1 flyer. Now, you could just chump block or get in a few points of damage with this, and then always make sure that you leave up a white if you're planning to sack it so that you do not miss out on that 1/1 flyer token value. And I would just go ahead and say that it's kind of more important that you get the 1/1 flyer so that you could populate that 1/1 flyer. So if you absolutely need to, just ensure that you get it out because you're worried about something, just sack it, even if it's for less value than you can get in total because the token matters. Here we have Advent of the Worm, which is 4 mana for a 5/5 Trampler, and Sigarda, which allows you to pay 2 and exile a card from your graveyard to get a 1/1. And then the Voodoo Gaza is a 4/4 for 5, which is okay, but you also get a 1/1 flyer when you cast it from your hand, and then you get a populate. So it's important to note that populate, you could just put a token on that's a copy of a creature token you control. This will guarantee that you can populate because you're going to get a 1/1 flyer, but you don't have to populate that 1/1 flyer. You could populate Advent of the Worm creature token that you get, for example, or any other one. Here we have Armada Worm, which is a 6 mana for a 5/5, and you get a 5/5. And then Poland Bright Wings, which is going to give a creature flying, and when it deals combat damage to a player, you get to put that many 1/1 saps into play. And then Trostani Summoner, which is a 7 mana for a 1/1, not a good deal, but you also get a 2/2, a 3/3, and a 4/4 when it ETBs. The cool part about this card is that it has 1 power, so later on we have a card that brings back to the battlefield a creature card with converted mana cost 2 or less. Oh, that's not going to work. Sorry, with power 2 or less, and then you're going to be able to bring this back, and then boom, there you go. You get all this sweet ETB value again. Here we have Wake the Reflections, which is just populate. And then we have Trostani Judgment, which is 6 mana to exile a creature. Not great, but then you get a populate. And Druid's Deliverance, which prevents combat damage that would be dealt to you this turn, and populate. This is step 3, which is copy the creatures. This is pretty much all populate cards here. Here we have Wayfaring Temple, which is PT equal to the creatures you control, but when it does combat damage, you populate. And then Rootborn, which you populate and then give creatures you control indestructible. And Growing Ranks, which allows you to populate on each of your upkeeps. And then, of course, our commander. Here we have step 4, which is remove the threats. Sundering Growth, Quasali's Pride Mage, or mutations in Dramoka's command. All of these have the ability to get rid of enchantments. A couple of them can get rid of artifacts. One of them allows you to get X11's equal to the CMC of the enchantment. And then in the case of Dramoka's command, some utility where you can fight and put a 1/1 counter and prevent all damage of an instant or sorcery. Here we have Merciless Killing, Devouring Light, Sundering Vatai, and Glare of Subdual. So Glare is more of a tempo card because you tap an untapped creature you control to tap an artifact or creature, but it is kind of like pseudo removal. In the case of Sundering and Devouring here, they both have Convoke, and you get to get rid of an attacking or blocking creature, exiled, and destroy artifact or enchantment. And then the killing over here allows you to have a creature sacrificed, and then you get X11's equal to its power. And then we have Silver Reclamation, which is exiled 2 artifacts or enchantments, and you can land cycle it. Hour of Reckoning, which has Convoke, and you destroy all non-token creatures, so a great board wipe because you're going to be able to keep all your tokens. And then the Seed Spark, which is, if green was played, you get 2 1/1s, but it destroys an artifact or enchantment for 4 mana either way. And the Selesnya Charm. This is one of the better charm spells, especially for this deck, because it pumps a thing, gets a thing, or allows you to exile a creature with 5 or greater. All at 2 mana, you just get to pick one of those 3, just solid utility. And then we have step 5. We're going to buff the team up. So we have the Guild Mage here, which does produce tokens for us, but it gives creatures we control +1/+1 until end of turn. You can just do that as many times as you have the mana to pay for it. And then Shield of the Oversoul, which allows you to enchant a creature to give it indestructible and flying if it's green-white, and give it a +2/+2 boost. The Liege, which just pumps up the team, and if you would have to discard it, instead you put it into play. And the Judenpur Order Ranger, which is going to allow stuff to get 1/1 counters. Here's Obelisk of Erd, which is Convoke, and you could choose a creature type to give +2/+2 to that chosen type. There's a bunch of different types in this deck, so it's kind of like wish-washy on what you're going to get, but Dryad, you're never going to fail with that one because that's your commander, and then whatever you happen to have the most tokens of. If that's elementals, if that's warriors, if that's worms, boom, they're pumped up now. Collective Blessing just straight up gives +3/+3 at the total mana cost of 6, which is the same as Obelisk of Erd, but it doesn't have Convoke. And then Wolf Blood here gives a +1/+1 boost, +1/+1 boost depending on the color. And if it's both colors, which a lot of our creatures are, they get that double boost. And then you could tap it to get a 2/2, which is going to be a 4/4 because of the Wolf Blood's ability. Here we have step 6, which is to exploit the advantage. So we can give a creature indestructible. We can draw cards when enchantments are put into any graveyard from play. We can gain a little bit of life and regenerate some creatures. And then with Sidara, we can have it so where creatures your opponents control can't block um, creatures with power 2 or less unless they have flying or reach. So that your opponents' creatures, even when they're trying to block creatures that your opponents are attacking with them, they can't do it, and yourself included, of course. And then we have the Escort here, the Witherlight Duelist, the Renegade Rallier, and Congregation at Dawn. So we get to give creatures indestructible. We get to make sure that each opponent can't block with more than one creature this combat, and then when the Duelist is tapped, no more than one creature can attack. And then the Rallier over here is going to give us a CMC 2 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. And Congregation at Dawn allows you to search for 3 and shuffle and put those creatures on the top in any order. Here we have a way to get a creature from any graveyard directly into play under our control. And then we have a way to gain life for each creature we control. And Return to the Ranks, which is the one I was mentioning earlier, but it turns out that I was incorrect. It's not the power, it is the CMC, so maybe not so much with that one card, but you do get to cast it with Convoke and return X creatures with CMC 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So it's important to note that if you determine that, say, X is 8, then you could tap 2 white creatures and 8 other creatures to play this spell for free and get 8 CMC 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. That would be quite a feat. Seraph of the Masses PT equal to the creatures you control. The Tandrids, which prevents all damage that would be dealt to token creatures you control. This does not prevent destroy effects, because destroy effects don't deal damage, but all the other damage would be good to go. And then you could also have Vutu here that does the same thing, but you gain life equal to the damage prevented this way. An Angel of Salvation, which has Flash, and it can prevent 5 damage however you choose. And that's it. We have 40 lands in this deck. We're running 15 of each basic, and then non-basic lands, 10 of them. We see here that we have a man land, we have a storage land, we have the Vutu the city tree, which allows us to pay 4 and tap it to get a creature, and then Grove of the Garden, which allows us to pay 5 and tap it and sack it, and tap 2 other creatures we control to get an 8/8. Alright, this deck's number 871964 on MTG Goldfish. Costs $36 for this Selesnya Conclave deck. Hold on. We're not quite done with these guild restricted decks yet. I'm going to switch it up a little bit on us this time. Normally I'm giving us budget options, but this time I'm going to take it the other way and tell you step 7, upgrade the Conclave. So, if you want, you can go the non-affordable route with this deck, but still stay within the guild restrictions and add in the following 10 cards. Gavany Township was only $4. It puts a 1/1 creature on each 1/1 counter on each creature you control. I didn't include it because I was trying to make cuts and get down kind of budgety, and I was looking to get under $40, and I couldn't really justify this so much. Dragon Lord Jermoko, which is $8, a great card to prevent spells from being cast on your turn. And then we have Raise the Redeemed, which gives you a creature for 3, and then also for 6 you can overload the Populate. Voice of Resurgence, which is just great because it prevents people from playing things on your turn, and then if they do, you get a creature with PT equal to the number of creatures you control. Eldamar's Call is a tutor for a creature, and then Aura Shards is just blowing up enchantments and artifacts all day. Here we have Sigarda Host, a Voltron, a commander in Sigarda of its own right, but it also makes it so that you don't have to sacrifice stuff. Privileged Position, which gives you a permanent Shroud from your opponent, so hexproof, I guess. A Johnny, which is if you can negate ultimate it, you get 100 life, otherwise you get to distribute counters and look at the top 4. And Captain Sisei, which allows you to search for a legendary. Yep, those are the cards that I would use to upgrade this. And all 10 of these cards right here are going to end up costing you $100 more on this price tag here. So if you want, check those out. If not, it's all good. Just run the affordable option. Hey, that wraps up the guild restricted deck text for you. That's all 10, the 5 allied and the 5 enemy color pairings. These are all going to be added to one playlist, so they're easy to find for you right after this video is published. And I'm going to do a little video talking about guild restrictions and why you would want to do it and all that to cap off this whole series. Thanks so much for watching.